Lexington police are looking for the man who's robbed this gas station 6 times since December.
A crash in Lexington early this morning had drivers avoiding a busy intersection for almost 12 hours.
Voters in 4 states making their picks in the GOP presidential race. The party's frontrunner is hoping the races will make up for what his advisors call a bad week.
This is WKYT News at 5.
Lexington police say that one man is behind a string of robberies at the same gas station.
The Speedway at Versailles Road and Alexandria Drive has been robbed 6 times since the end of December. Police released this picture of the suspect after the latest robbery this morning. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy is tracking the search in our top story at 5.
Police think the man who's robbing this gas station lives close by and knows when officers are in and out of the area.
Detective Mark Thomas believes the robber knows this area and this gas station very well. He says the man has robbed it 6 times. The first time in December of last year, the most recent early Tuesday morning. He says the times aren't always the same, but the way in which he approaches the clerks is.
This guy's very dynamic. He immediately, as soon as he breaches the front door, raises the handgun and points it at the face of one of the clerks. He does that in every single instance, as we can see, and that's why ultimately we believe it is the same person.
Police say the man is black, in his 20s, around 6 feet tall with a thin build. In Lexington, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Lexington police say they are increasing patrols in the area. They say every time he runs away from the station, they do not believe he has a getaway car. Police have arrested 2 more people wanted in the shooting death of a Lexington teen. 19-year-old Marquez Smith and a juvenile are charged with murder, assault, and robbery. 18-year-old Caleb Hallett was shot and killed on University Avenue in January. 2 other juveniles are already in custody. A 5th suspect shot and killed himself in Ohio 10 days after Hallett's murder.
Police want to find a driver they say hit a man on a bicycle and did not stop to help him. The crash happened last night on Kentucky 80 between Somerset and London. Police say the driver was in a black Ford Ranger pickup. Witnesses told police the driver stopped to look at the damage to his truck, but drove off before police showed up.
The Hispanic had pointed toward the male that he hit and said that he'd hit a man, and so she went to assist the man on the bicycle, and then that's whenever he got back in his truck and left the scene.
Police have named that bike rider as 23-year-old Terrell Harden. He's in critical condition at UK Hospital. Coming up at 6, you'll hear from people who stopped to help him after the crash. A crash slowed down traffic at a busy Lexington intersection today. 2
semis hit head-on at Man of War and Richmond Road around 6 this morning. It took until after 2 this afternoon to get the intersection completely clear. WKYT's Victor Puente shows us the mess the crash caused.
Emergency crews first told us they hope to have this road reopened by noon. The trucks involved in that crash were gone by then, but the road itself wouldn't reopen for several more hours. The crash happened around 6 this morning. It kept the inner loop of Man of War closed for more than 11 hours.
Call came in for 2 semis head-on here at the intersection of Richmond Road and Man of War.
Firefighters used the jaws of life to get one of those drivers out. The other was able to exit his truck on his own. Both were taken by ambulance to a local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Crews had to unload both trailers before they could be hauled away. They also had to worry about diesel fuel leaking from one of those gas tanks.
Like I said, a long, drawn-out process, and we're not going to be in a hurry, right? Because we don't want to cause any more damage than what's already been caused.
The state's environmental response team called a private company, Petco, to handle the cleanup. That included removing dirt from the side of the road that may have had diesel soak into it. They also had to make sure that fuel didn't drain into a nearby creek.
Anytime we get, petroleum products like that, the best thing is not to introduce it anywhere close to where it's going to be a danger to, to people. There's soil that's involved over here on the side.
The environmental crew who came out here told us it could be several more days before they could determine if any fuel leaked into that creek. In Lexington, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Lexington police say they are investigating whether one of those drivers ran a red light at the intersection.
Police arrested 2 people they say brought a child to Walmart while under the influence. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Madison County. Berea police say they found Terry Seaborn passed out behind the wheel of a car in the store's parking lot. The child was in the car with him. Officers say they found the child's grandmother, Patricia Mays, in the store.
They were in no shape to have a small child. They were in no shape to have any child, but it makes it especially bad when the child is very small and they can't fend for themselves in any kind of way. So,
both of them were charged with wanton endangerment and public intoxication. Seaborn also faces several drug charges. A dog rescued from a Jessamine County home is doing better. An update now. Investigators say Snicker and another dog were starving when they were taken from a home in February. Animal Care and Control says Snicker is gaining weight, making progress both physically and psychologically. The dog's owner is charged with animal cruelty.
It has been a beautiful spring-like day across the area. We have a chance to get close to some records during this run of warmer weather. WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is here now with a check of that forecast.
Yeah, if you're going to flirt with some records, might as well be a record high, and we're going to be close to that over the next couple of days. Let's not shortchange what's going on out there right now, though. Look at our live sky cams across the entire area. Beautiful blue skies for most of the day. A little bit of cloud cover zipping across the Lexington area, but it is moving so quickly you can already see the clearing line showing up on top of the Hamburg Pavilion area. Everybody 70 to 75 degrees as of now. Those clouds getting on through the Lexington area. That temperature over the next hour may actually jump back up into the low 70s with the sun reappearing. And you see the clouds right on top of the I-75 corridor working eastbound very quickly. They're not going to produce precipitation. No worries there. All the rain is off to our west, well to our west. That big area of high pressure across the southeastern seaboard will keep us high and dry through the day tomorrow, and that will allow temperatures to head into the mid and upper 70s. Could flirt with a record here or there. Later Thursday and into the weekend, some scattered storms arrive. We will track those with a brand new hour-by-hour forecast in less than 10 minutes.
See you in a bit, Chris. Thank you. Donald Trump has had what his advisors call a bad week. He won a couple of states, but within a closer margin than expected, and he didn't take the most delegates. As Craig Boswell shows us, all eyes have now shifted to the 4 states holding Republican contests today.
Voting is underway in several states, and Donald Trump is leading big in the polls in Mississippi and Michigan, but he still urged his supporters to get out and vote.
But let's assume we're tied. I don't want to say it. Assume we're tied, because you got to go out.
Ohio Governor John Kasich has focused heavily on his neighbor to the north.
If I spent any more time in Michigan, I would have to start paying taxes.
Kasich is hoping his positive message wins out in the end.
Have the state of Michigan send a message and launch me into the state of Ohio, where we will have a whole new day in American politics. Thank you all very much.
Kasich is getting support from former GOP presidential nominee Mitt Romney, who recorded a phone message for the Ohio governor in Michigan, as well as Senator Marco Rubio in Florida, with one goal: stop Donald Trump.
These ads are so vicious, and they're so phony, they're so false.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz says Rubio and Kasich can't win.
Ours is the only campaign that has beaten Donald Trump repeatedly and that can and will beat Donald Trump.
Hillary Clinton has a big lead over Bernie Sanders in Mississippi and Michigan, the 2 states holding Democratic primaries today.
I'm honored to have your vote today.
She met with voters at a bakery in Detroit this morning before leaving for Ohio tonight. Craig Boswell, CBS News, the White House.
Ohio and Florida are the next big prizes on the election calendar. They vote next Tuesday, along with Illinois, North Carolina, and Missouri. Well, the Wildcats are getting ready to tip off in the SEC tournament later this week.
And a couple of them are already receiving some recognition in the SEC before the tournament even begins. WKYT's Rob Bromley's here with our Big Blue coverage. Hey, Rob.
Hello, and you know, it was a few weeks back that John Calipari was talking about Player of the Year for Tyler Ulis, not just in the SEC, but nationally. Well, today Ulis was named SEC Player of the Year, along with that, SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He has had a tremendous season, averaging 6.6 points and 7.4 assists per game. Ulis has formed a tremendous tandem in the backcourt with Jamal Murray. Today, both were named All-SEC First Team and USA Today All-Americans. Tyler never thought about it happening.
No, I didn't even think about it, but, you know, I just knew I could play at this level, knew I could succeed at this level, and I just always stayed confident in my game and just played the game the right way.
It's an honor. You know, I enjoy those awards, and, you know, I'm proud of where I've come from and how far it's taken to get to this point. You know, just focused on what's next and the games we have ahead in this practice.
Tyler Eulis was also named District 4 Player of the Year by the U.S. basketball writers. Both Eulis and Murray named First Team All-District. They won so many honors today, it's hard to pass all of them along. Sam Ember.
Not a bad problem to have. Thank you, Rob. And the Cats open play in the SEC tournament Friday night against either Alabama or Ole Miss.
Today marks 2 years since the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370.
That flight went off radar on its way to Beijing. Malaysia's parliament held a moment of silence to remember the 239 people on board. Investigators still do not know what happened to that plane.
Maryland's highest court says one of the officers charged in Freddie Gray's death must testify against the others. Gray died last April from an injury suffered in police custody. New trial dates will now have to be scheduled for the officers, including one set to start tomorrow. The World Health Organization says the spread of the Zika virus through sex is more common than first thought. The organization came to the conclusion based on reports from several countries. The virus primarily spreads through mosquito bites. During a meeting today, the WHO also said there is increasing evidence Zika is responsible for a spike in birth defects. You can see the work of area artists all over Lexington.
And now the group responsible for helping those artists is asking for your help to keep the arts alive. WKYT's Mike Linden shows us what you can do in a story that's new at 5.
Art is almost everywhere you look in Lexington. LexArts officials say art adds a vibrancy to the city that nothing else could.
It brings us joy, it brings us together, it gives us vehicles for expression. Whether we're the artists or the audience, we share in that expressive experience.
The Lexington-based nonprofit provides funding to artists all year. That's why they kicked off their Fund for the Arts campaign at the Kentucky Theater today.
While an art exhibit might look simple, LexArt officials say there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to getting art exhibits up and running. And they say that's why they need the community's help.
The nonprofit arts community really relies on philanthropy, because if we were to charge everyone exactly what it costs to see a museum show or to see a theater show, no one could afford it.
For groups like Music Works, funding from LexArts gives students a chance to express themselves through art.
It also gives these students an outlet to perform and to express, and also to feel a part of their community when they come together and perform together.
Contributions to LexArts can be made all year. Leaders say it's the sum of all parts that keeps art alive in Lexington.
It's the magic of the whole community contributing a little bit over a long period of time.
In Lexington, Mike Linden, WKYT.
And contributions to LexArts can be made online. We have information on how to donate on WKYT.com.
It is time now for better living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. Adding peanuts or peanut butter to your diet can help slim your waist. Researchers followed children who swapped out peanuts for unhealthy snacks. They found children who ate nuts had a lower body mass index than those who didn't. Nuts can also help lower your risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease. We've all done it. Your cell phone slips out of your hand, and the next thing you know, it's cracked or worse, submerged in water. As Linda Sirana shows us, a new study shows us how common it really is to have those cell phone mishaps.
Amanda is making yet another visit to the Verizon store, and it's always for the same reason. How often do you break your phone?
Maybe like twice a month.
She's far from alone. According to a Verizon survey, nearly half of American cell phone users have broken or lost their phone.
I drop it in the toilet all the time.
43% of people admit to doing the very same thing. Dropping the phone in water topped the list for the most embarrassing way to damage it. Sammy says she's lost track of how many phones she's had to replace.
I would say on average, I probably went back in the Razor phone time. I probably went through 50 of them.
How often do you see people coming in with their phone broken, cracked?
Every day. So I got to tell you, it's something that we see all the time.
Adrian Horta is the general manager of the Verizon Wireless store in Herald Square. He says a new phone can easily cost you hundreds of dollars.
Nowadays, we're talking about spending $750 on average. I would say, $750 to $950, depending on the handset that you're buying.
And about 54% of cell phone users report dropping their phone at least once a week. It's why the manager here at Verizon says everyone should invest in a a protection plan.
Instead of paying full price for these handsets, our equipment protection allows you to get a new handset. It gives you peace of mind, and you're not paying all that money up front, which can be detrimental to some owners.
According to the survey, your age and whether or not you have kids seem to be telling factors. Parents are almost twice as likely to break or lose their phone than users without children. And millennials, they drop their phone at least 4 times a week.
I try, I do, but it just always falls out of my hand.
She might want to invest in a good case as well.
When it comes to teens and makeup, natural choices might be better for their health. Parabens and other harmful chemicals known to interfere with growth development are found in many cosmetics. A study found girls who used chemical-free makeup, shampoo, and lotions decreased the chemical level in their bodies by as much as 45%.